A kite flying in the air has a 9-foot line attached to it. Its line is pulled taut and casts a 7-foot shadow. Find the height of the kite. If necessary, round your answer to the nearest tenth. So as you can see here, the picture is actually drawn for you already. Here's the kite. It has a 9-foot line attached to the kite. So here's a person holding the kite. There's a 9-foot line attached to it. It casts a 7-foot shadow. There's a shadow that it casts right here. And they're asking us to find the height. So I'll just call this x. So we want to find x. We want to find the height in which the kite is flying. So one of the things you need to notice in this problem is that when you draw the picture, or the picture here is already drawn for this word problem, you will see that it creates a right triangle. So this is a right triangle, and a right triangle means that it creates a 90-degree angle. So it has a 90-degree angle in it, and this little box here means that it creates a 90-degree right angle. So therefore, this is a right triangle. And one of the things that we need to know about right triangles is that there was once a guy named Pythagoras, and he came up with the Pythagorean Theorem. And in this theorem, Pythagoras discovered that there's a relationship between the 3 sides of a right triangle. So the 3 sides of a right triangle, so we'll call, if this is the right triangle, I will call this, these are the legs of the right triangle. So the legs of the right triangle, it doesn't matter which leg is which. I'll just call this the leg 1, and I'll call this the leg 2. So it doesn't matter which one's the leg. And this long side here, this diagonal side, is called the hypotenuse. It's opposite of the right triangle, the right angle. So that's the hypotenuse, and here's the leg and the leg. And he realized that there is a relationship between all 3 of these. So the relationship is this. He realized that if you take the length of the leg and you square it, and then you add it to the length of the other leg and you square it, you'll realize that as a result, you'll find out what the hypotenuse is, and that being squared. So this formula, or this theorem that he created, helps us to be able to find the missing length if we know 2 lengths. So as long as you know 2 lengths of a triangle, you'll be able to find a 3rd length. And in general, instead of calling this leg 1, leg 2, and hypotenuse, we can call this, if we call this A, we call this B. Again, it doesn't matter which one is A or B. And we call this C. In general, this Pythagorean theorem is A squared equals plus B squared equals to C squared. So whenever you see a right triangle, think Pythagorean theorem, A squared plus B squared equals C squared, where A and B are the legs of the triangle and C is the hypotenuse. So here in this problem, we are given 2 lengths and we need to find the 3rd length. So we know that by Pythagorean theorem, we can solve for this. So these are the 2 legs. So the leg is 7 and the leg is x. So it doesn't matter the order. So I'll do 7 squared plus x squared is equal to the hypotenuse squared. And this is 9 squared. And once I do that, I get 7 squared is 49 plus x squared is equal to 9 squared is 81. So when I do that, I'm going to isolate different ways you could do this, but one of the things that you can do is I subtract 49 on both sides. So when I subtract 49 on both sides, I get x squared is equal to 7 minus 4 is 3. So let me just check this. I don't have a calculator on hand. So x squared is equal to 32. So in order to find out what x is, you're going to take the radical of both sides. So if you take the radical of both sides, x is equal to plus or minus. So you take the radical of both sides, and it's going to be a plus or minus radical 32. Well, I mean, you can ask yourself, what 2 numbers squared gives you 32? There's no whole number that does that. So you have to put it in the calculator, square root of 32. What is the square root of 32? Well, and this problem's a little bit kind of out of order in terms of us learning the material, because we don't learn about radicals until the next couple of chapters, but here we're required to solve it using a radical. So I'm just going to teach you real quick how to do this. To x squared equals 32, to get x sitting by itself, you square root both sides. So you end up getting x is equal to plus or minus of that value, 32. So when you plug square root of 32 into your calculator, you end up getting, and you round it to the nearest tenth. So nearest tenth means the nearest one decimal digit, you end up getting approximately 5.7. And there's a plus or minus, but since we're talking about a physical length or distance, it has to be positive. So the negative answer we omit, and we just have the positive answer, 5.7. And since we're also talking about measurement, this is in terms of feet. So 5.7 feet.